Well, the Democrats have a rather vile trick up their sleeve, and Donald Trump has just pulled the plug on the entire thing. You see, what's happening right now is our government is currently shut down, as you know, and shut down due to the demands of the Democrat. In this case, the Democrats are literally demanding that illegal immigrants get free health care. The problem is, right now, the likes of Hakeem Jeffries, the likes of Chuck Schumer, and many other Democrats, they're out there screaming and saying the Republicans are lying. We're not really giving free health care away to illegal immigrants. Wink and a nod. And all their mainstream media counterparts like Politico and everybody are out there saying, yeah, the Republicans are lying. Well, the truth of the matter is Donald Trump has just blown them out of the water, metaphorically speaking, and exposed their whole plan. And I'm going to prove to you that the real agenda is exactly what the Republicans are saying, and that is they are giving health care specifically to, say, those who are seeking asylum, which is basically anybody who wants to come in the country illegally and scream asylum. In other words, it is going to fund these illegal immigrants, just like the Republicans are saying. I've got a lot to share with you today, including that leaked plan by Donald Trump. But let's start first with this. Over in the White House, literally hours after the Democrats shut down the government, Donald Trump decided he would troll the liberal press in the press briefing room and literally played like 2.5 minutes worth of Democrats saying how bad it is to shut down the government. Meanwhile, they just shut the government down. It's the epic trolling because it really is the Democrats. It's showing the Democrats' true colors, right? They don't really believe in what they're doing. In fact, they were against government shutdowns not that long ago, and suddenly now they're for it. Here's a quick clip of that. I'm not going to show you the whole thing because it's really hard to hear, but take a listen to some of it.
Why should we ask TSA officers to go without their hard-earned pay while they protect our airports?
I'm a senator from Virginia. Some of the hardest effects of shutdown will be seen in my state.
If the government shuts down, it will be average Americans who suffer most.
Anyway, you get the picture of what's going on there. But I'm not going to play the full 2 minutes. It's very hard to hear. But anyway, it's Democrat after Democrat railing against the government shutdowns just hours after they literally shut down the government. It is insanity. Now, I've got a lot to share with you in today's broadcast, but I got to give a quick shout out to my sponsor, Noble Gold Investments. You see, gold has gone mainstream. You're seeing it everywhere, and prices are climbing. In fact, more Americans are turning to gold to protect their wealth. But how do you take advantage of something like that? Well, you contact Noble Gold Investments at 1-877-646-5347, and they can help you either roll a 401k over to some kind of gold IRA, or even they can ship physical gold coins or bars directly to your doorstep. And if you give them a call right now with every approved plan, they are giving away a 10-ounce silver American flag bar and 1 silver American Eagle proof coin for new qualified account on an IRA or even cash purchases. So make sure you give them my name. And by the way, you can also go to lisahavengold.com, fill out this information. And if you click on email me my wealth kit, they'll send you a free wealth protection kit. But claim that free kit today. And Noble Gold, by the way, makes it simple, safe, and stress-free. So give them a call. And by the way, there's always a risk to investing. There's never a guarantee. If you want more info, click that more button if you're on your cell phone, or click the link in the description box below. All right. So the Democrats over the years have said how bad shutdowns are and how many people can lose their jobs, yet now they're doing exactly the opposite, having shut down the government. In fact, I want to show you this article written by Fox News just a few days ago because I think it's really a powerful one. But Schumer Democrats face heat for shifting stance on government shutdown threat, as you've seen that they have done. It goes on. Senate Majority Leader John Thune contended that their position now is completely counter to the one that they held in March when the government was again on the brink of closure, especially given their concerns that the Trump administration and OMB would move ahead with mass firings. This is to our advantage, the mass firing section of it, because we need to get rid of some of that bloated government. I mean, it's always bad when government shuts down, but if there's any light at the tunnel, there's mass firings that can happen during that time. Now, it goes on, quote, the argument they made was that they don't want to give Trump, basically by shutting down the government, carte blanche to do whatever he wants to do with these government agencies. And, to let OMB make decision about who is essential and who isn't, Thune said on the Hewitt show. So the only good that we can see out of this at this time is the fact that Donald Trump can do some of the mass firings that he originally intended to do. To kind of get into the exposing of the Democrats and what's really going on, as you know, the Democrats are demanding, right? Here's their list of demands. They want free healthcare for illegal immigrants, aka asylum seekers, although they've got a temporary-ish status for legality. And then we have $500 million to hand out to liberal media. Screw that. $50 billion to cut rural hospital funding. Yes, you heard that right. Billions in DEI and climate schemes. So it's BS. It's never going to happen. But here's the deal. It is directly in the verbiage. It comes straight from the Democrat proposal. And I'm going to show you this on Rapid Response 47. You can see this is the proposal that they've put forth. And let's go to the section. Oh, there it is. Section 71109, Alien Medicare Eligibility. So they are eligible for Medicaid. Based off that alone, it shows that this is exactly what they are doing. And I tell you what, our leaders better not agree to it. What makes this interesting is Politico and other people are out there saying it's fake news. They're not trying. Look, all I care is that the Democrats actually admit what they're doing. That's it. And the problem is, why won't they admit that they're giving health care to illegals? Why won't they admit that? Well, because they know that it would destroy the American citizen. It would devastate. It would devastate the American people, specifically Democrats even, right, to know that. So they'd be like, oh, it really is about that? Let's shut that down, right? This is why they're out there lying. Even PolitiFact, which is not fact, is saying this whole thing is false. Democrats are threatening to shut down the entire government because they want to give hundreds of billions of dollars of health care benefits to illegals. And they're claiming this entire thing is false, right? But then if you read through their statement on how it's false, they have this in there, right? And this is the key to the whole thing. The Democrats' September 17th budget proposal would in part permanently extend the Affordable Care Act subsidies and roll back billions in Republican cuts to Medicaid and other healthcare programs. The change would make Medicaid, CHIP, and the Affordable Care Act coverage available to all legal immigrants. It already is, by the way, to legal, those who came here legally. But anyway, who were previously eligible for it. And then it gets in, such as refugees and people granted asylum. There's part of the key right there. So let's look up asylum, right? Because here it is. They're basically admitting it in the document. Let's look up asylum, right? How are illegal immigrants granted asylum? Because this is the question, right? That everybody's kind of focusing on. And let's just get down to the nitty gritty. And this is Grok's version, right? In order to be eligible for asylum, you have to have some kind of persecution or fear of persecution based on politics, social group, nationality, religion, race, whatever. So in other words, if you cross the border illegally, you got no papers, you didn't pay to come here, you didn't do it the right way, you're like, I'm going to go for asylum. And I can only tell you, probably a majority of them come in, I want asylum. Because all you have to do is say you're persecuted. All right. And then there's stuff that qualifies for primary applications. Basically, you've been removed or removal from people who are deported, and basically all of them classify. Okay, so let's go on to the screening. Once you claim asylum, then they screen you. At the border, they're like, let's ask you a couple of questions and see if there's a fear. In other words, they all pretty much pass. A majority do. And then they have to fill out the form I-589. And then 1 year later, basically it goes 1 to 3 years or whatever. There's some delays on that arriving in the U.S. that they can fill out this application and wait and see. And then they have to go for an interview and a hearing and go before the courts and find out if they're actually granted asylum or not, right? So basically that's it. You don't have to do it legally. All you have to say is I'm seeking asylum, being a legal immigrant, seeking asylum. And then, bam, you get free health care. and free other things. You actually qualify for quite a bit. Let's go on to that a little more. And then I asked Grok, are asylum seekers legal in the U.S.? Asylum seekers are legally permitted to enter and remain in the United States while their claims are processed, provided they follow established legal proceedings. And by the way, those legal proceedings, all of that have been taking up to 3 years. It could take months, it could take years. Under Joe Biden, it could even take longer because there was a lot of abuses in this particular concept, right? But in conclusion, asylum seekers are legally recognized in the U.S. under federal and international law, but they must navigate a complex system with, they're not strict requirements, but anyway, their ability to stay and work legally depends on compliance with these processes. So there you have it. And by the way, how many are in the United States? About 4.1 pending asylum cases in the U.S. as of January 31st, 2025. 4 million. And there's applications and cases and the whole 9 yards. Wow. So there's that. So the way that they're really getting, and by the way, I also asked Grok this, can asylum seekers claim benefits? In the U.S., asylum seekers, those with pending asylum applications, have limited access to public benefits under PRWORA. They are generally, key term here, ineligible for SNAP, TANF, or non-emergency Medicaid until asylum is granted. However, eligibility varies by state, and some offer alternatives and the whole 9 yards. Now, under Obama and under Biden, there were certain rules that were changed to provide loopholes for these people to actually access benefits. There's loopholes in the PRWORA that Obama put into Obamacare, allowing these pending cases, if you will, to get free healthcare. And I believe that is the case, right? Or some of these asylum seekers to get through these loopholes. And that is what we're talking about here. It's a very complex thing that the average American is just going to be like, wow, but Donald Trump exposed the whole thing on the whitehouse.gov on a memo board. And he put this out, memorandum, Democrat plan to fund healthcare for illegal immigrants. That's what they're doing. The Work Families Tax Cut Act, WFTCA, signed into law by Trump, contains the most important America First healthcare reforms ever enacted. These policies represent a comprehensive effort to address waste, fraud, and abuse to strengthen the healthcare system for the most vulnerable Americans, ensuring that our tax-paying dollars are focused on American citizens and not subsidized healthcare for illegal immigrants. Democrats are demanding these reforms be repealed as a condition of keeping the government open for weeks. And this is what we're talking about. If these are repealed, right, then we can have all kind of loopholes through these in which these asylum seekers here can get this healthcare. That's why it's a problem, right? But this would result in federal government spending nearly $200 billion on healthcare for illegal immigrants and non-citizens over the next decade. And here's the actual plan here. And he compares it to the Children's Health Insurance Program. It's basically the same amount, $193 billion. If we continue on this path, your finances are going to skyrocket when it comes to healthcare. A, we don't have the money to pay for that. And B, Americans with disabilities and injuries and children who are hurt, women, poor people in America, American citizens are getting the shaft. They don't get help like these illegals are getting help. And therein lies the problem, especially when you factor the fact that we're the ones footing the bill. It goes on. These provisions ensure that Medicaid cannot be used in conjunction with abuses of the immigration system, like the Biden administration misuse of the parole and asylum process to supplement radical open border policies and serve as a magnet for illegal immigration into the U.S. Repealing these eligibility limitations would increase federal spending by more than $102 billion. And not just them, he gets into more, right? The enhanced funding for emergency care provided by illegal immigrants. There's also emergency care going to these people. Under the WFTCA, states will no longer be able to claim enhanced federal funding for reimbursing hospitals that provide emergency services to illegal immigrants beginning on October 1st, 2026. This change hasn't hit yet, right? If it's repealed and the Democrats get their way, we are going to have an increase by $28.2 billion. Right? Here's the deal. If the states want to take care for it, vote for it in your state and do it. The federal government is saying we've had enough because of this reason. Federal spending will increase by $28.2 billion and states will claim greater federal reimbursement for care provided to illegal immigrants than they receive for care provided to American children, seniors, pregnant women, and disabled individuals. So those are the ones suffering: our children, our seniors, our pregnant women, and our disabled individuals, because the money is going elsewhere. This is a problem when you factor it all in. And that's if these repeals that the Democrats want go through. And he goes on to talk about Obamacare, right? This is where a lot of the loopholes happened. Obamacare. And oh, by the way, when Obamacare hit, all our prices skyrocketed because that was one of the reasons why we're paying for things we shouldn't be. Obamacare prohibits Americans earning below the poverty line from receiving a subsidy to help afford their premiums, while some immigrants who earn below the poverty line were made eligible for such subsidies. So Americans who were below the poverty line could not receive subsidies, but immigrants could. Lucy, we have a problem right here. Now, the PRWORA, what I just talked about here in that, right? So kind of going back for that, prevents most immigrants from receiving Medicare for 5 years. It was supposed to. The drafters of Obamacare, herein lies the problem, created a special rule to subvert this limitation by extending Obamacare premium subsidies to those same immigrants earning below the poverty line, despite denying subsidies to poor Americans. And that's the problem. So this Obamacare put a loophole in the PRWORA that said, hey, these illegals, and maybe they're not fully granted asylum at this time, maybe they're in the process, whatever, these illegals, if they're making below the poverty line, we can cover Medicaid, they can get Medicaid if they're below that poverty line. But hey, we're not going to do the same for the poor people in America under a certain poverty line. We have issues. The WFTCA repeals that special rule for immigrants. So we're going to get rid of that rule with this repeal, and the Democrats want to keep it in, right? And if they keep it in, that's another $27.3 billion. In conclusion, right? Democrats' funding proposal will put American patients last by undoing critical WFTCA reforms, thereby spending nearly $200 billion in taxpayer money on healthcare benefits for illegal immigrants or other non-citizens. Adding insult to injury, Democrats are also seeking to undo critical reforms that strengthen the healthcare system for American patients. Their bill would repeal a historic $50 billion investment into transforming rural healthcare. We're going to take it from rural healthcare. Take away health savings accounts from 10 million Americans poised to gain access, right? A lot of you probably have health savings accounts. By the way, I used to have one. And end a Clinton-era work requirement for able-bodied working-age adults without young children. And here is the total bill that you and I would be footing. In other words, financial devastation in the healthcare industry. We already have. We're already massively in debt as a country, and we can't afford this as a country. That's the bottom line. I think in all of us, we can't afford it, right? As far as I see it, that's exactly what's happening. They're providing it to these people who aren't even fully legal yet through these loopholes. And all the WFTCA has done is repeal some of that and put money back in the American people's pocket. Anyhow, wanted to share all of that with you. I know I kind of went a little longer, but I want to encourage you, get to restrictedrepublic.com. And we've got so much great stuff. Lots of people are signing up there, getting the good information, and you can too. Right now, use the code Lisa and the number 5 to get it for $5 per month. We've got some great stuff going on there, and I really want to encourage you to check it out. So I hope to see you there. Justice Night is putting an exclusive report on there. I've got some big ones coming up, by the way, that you're not going to want to miss that are exclusive to that platform. Anyhow, with all of that, I love you all. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.